There he is. Couple minutes late. We were just saying, what if the players are late to practice?
Well, if they're late, they get it. So I'm ready to have it. If you want to unleash it, bring it. But IT's not my strong point.
All right, Mike. Well, we appreciate you for spending time with us today. Coming on to the Sevens Life Live. It is definitely a big moment right now in the U.S. For Sevens. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So, guys, Mike Friday here, USA Sevens head coach. As we see here in the screen above, he played for England Sevens from 96 to 2002. Coach from 02 to 06 for England Sevens. You said you were a player coach as well with England during that time. Kenya from 12 to 13, and then USA Rugby the summer of 2014, if I'm correct, you came in as head coach.
That's right.
Okay. So we're going to go right into the first question here. We got 7 minutes with you to the best of our ability. So the first question, and we're going to frame some background in this first question here. USA, when you came in to coach USA, they were ranked number 13th in the world. 13th in the world. That first year on the job, the team went up to 6th in the world. Since then, there's been a lot of battling back and forth between the quarterfinals, the semifinals, never really getting over that hump to be in that cup final position, you know, every tournament, or at least close to every tournament. South Africa kind of in the way the last couple of years. In 2016, you took 9th in the Olympics, and then Rugby World Cup Sevens over the summer, you took 5th, and right now we are number 1 in the world in 2019, headed midway through the World Rugby 7 Series to our home tournament in Vegas. Is this the vision you had for USA Sevens? And on top of that, is this the timing you expected it to happen in?
I mean, look, we always knew the potential was there. I think, you know, back when we got involved at the start in 2014, I think the thing that kind of lit my flame was people said we had less than 10% chance of qualifying for the Olympics. So when we actually did manage to qualify for the Olympics, then everybody had that expectation that we would win a medal, even though we shouldn't even be there. And everyone thought we'd underachieved at coming in at 9th. And we felt we'd underachieved, but it was a gladiator warrior type of tournament. And we went out on a points difference of 1. So the big thing for us was trying to get consistency in such a volatile game where the smallest of margins are the difference between winning and losing. And for a traditional rugby playing country, which doesn't have the legacy of the likes of New Zealand, England and Australia and South Africa, bringing consistency of understanding on how to play the game and deal with those moments takes time. And we're so fortunate with the guys that we have, you know, that a lot of them have bought in and committed to trying to pioneer the game of Rugby Sevens and the USA on the World Series. That where we are now is the kind of the cumulative work of the last 4 or 5 years. And the boys have done a lot of work on the field, but more importantly, they've done so much work off the field in the classroom. Not only to try and improve themselves as rugby players, but also as men, to start to understand one another, the art of communication, how to work through problems under pressure, and also at times within the locker room where it can be a volatile place. So, you know, all the credit really does belong to those boys in the arena that are delivering now in these last 4 tournaments.
Gotcha. Second question that we have kind of plays right on to that. You know, the question is, how crucial has it been to have some of the same players since you came in still on the roster? I mean, you talk about just the development of the man on and off the field. These guys are living together, and I mean, at least 8 of them here: Hughes, Asefo, Barrett, Baker, Isles, Nua, Pinky, Leota, you know, even Thompson and Thomasine. They've constantly found themselves on the roster. And how amazing has that been to consistently bring in good guys over and over and over again?
Yeah, I mean, they were such a young group when when we got them, but they are basically the same group that finished 13th. So again, it's just testament to giving them focus and direction, and then allowing them to grow as men and as rugby players has enabled them. But what's been really good is that the sprinkling of new guys that have forced their way in have all added to the program. So you start to see that kind of fresh blood that also reinvigorates the guys that are already there. And a change is sometimes as good as a rest, right? And that's kind of what we've done. There's an evolution of how we do things, evolution in our culture and what's expected of you if you want to be a part of it. And the new guys can add to that to go alongside the guys that have been there for a long time. Because when you've been in the same gig for a long time, you need that fresh blood to reinvigorate you and keep you on your toes. And you've started to see that, over the years, one or two just seem to kind of force their way into the mix. Just recently right now, you had Cody Melfi last year. You got Maceo Brown and Marcus Topola now forcing their way into the mix. 2 or 3 years ago when I first arrived, Ben Pinkelman was one of those that forced himself in, and now look where Ben Pinkelman is. Martin Yusepo forced his way in that first year. So it's that constant evolution of the group, but also maintaining the consistency and allowing those that have been there from the start to continue to grow and get better.
Definitely. So a lot of these new guys, you're saying, are testing some of these older guys that have been around, keeping the blood pumping. Hey, your job's on the line now. You need to play. We're going for it all, not to finish in 13th or anywhere close to it.
Yeah, competition's key, right? I mean, it's the key in everything, but also honest competition, and that competition where they're a team first, they're good men, but they push each other on and off the pitch, because you have to try and bring the best out of one another, because you've got to rely on one another when the final 12 get picked. And, the hardest job in the world when you go on tour is being that 13th man, because you have a collective responsibility to make sure the 12 are ready, but you need to be ready to come in at a moment's notice. And then the guys that don't make it, that are left behind, they've got to almost kind of pick themselves up and get themselves ready, because they've got to go again the next time that the competition comes around for the roster.
Gotcha. Speaking of competition, I had mentioned earlier, South Africa, definitely one of the roadblocks that have troubled USA in the last couple of years. But this year, it seems to be New Zealand and Fiji. We make 4 cup finals in a row. We lose 2 to Fiji, 2 to New Zealand. I mean, a question that a lot of people have is, why aren't we finishing and winning these cup finals?
No one's ever happy, are they? No one's ever happy.
No.
I think the reality is you've got to look at the cold hard facts, right? We've lost 4 finals. Yeah, we're as disappointed as everybody, but they're on little moments. But in terms of are those 2 teams roadblocks, absolutely not. That's the same New Zealand team we blew apart in Cape Town, and it's the same New Zealand team we beat on their own territory in Hamilton. It's also the same Fiji team that we blew apart in Dubai. So the important thing is that we're the only team that is capable, has been beating these teams as well. So we're in the mix, right? Unfortunately, in the game of sevens, it's all about little moments. And there are some moments that were in our control in all of those finals that we didn't take, and there are others that weren't. And that's just, unfortunately, the rub of the green. The only final where I think we got beaten by the better team on the day was Fiji in Hamilton. I mean, everything they did turned to gold, and everything we did, we couldn't get going. So I think everybody's got to realise that if we make 10 finals and don't win any of them, we'll win the series. And to be even talking about tier 2 rugby nation like USA as being in the mix with the big boys on the World Series, getting near the halfway point is in itself a good talking point. But the holy grail for us this year is Olympic qualification. Top 4 finish, that's what we're all about. We want to be going to the Olympics. We want to book our place so I can give the boys June off. That's the gig. That's why they're playing so well, because they want June off. They want to go on holiday early. So, it's great that we're not delivering, that we're not happy with the fact we're not delivering. And I'm pleased that the USA rugby community isn't happy that we're not winning cup finals. But we need to recognise and respect how hard the boys are working and how well they have done. And trust me, it's hurting them far more than anybody else. and they'll be trying everything they've got in the locker to try and get us over the line and get us a gold.
Definitely. I mean, we live in a time where everybody wants something quick, quick results. I don't want to wait in a shopping line. I don't want to wait for, my food. Everything quick, and then it unfortunately bleeds into something like this. But it takes time to build a successful team, and a team that's going to continuously be successful over and over again. On that point, how is the morale of the team right now headed into Vegas? Like you said, we're sitting first place. We're tied for first place, but we do have those 4 straight second place finishes. How do the boys feel about going into Vegas? Are they ready to repeat? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the long and short is we're hungry, and that's the key, right? You've got to be a hungry man. You've got to be a desperate man that wants to win, and every one of them is hungry and desperate to go back to Vegas and win our home tournament. But more importantly, we're desperate and hungry to get a gold medal. We're desperate and hungry to get Olympic qualification, and we can't lose perspective on how hard we have to work and how much we respect the opposition and every opposition that we play. We've got to outwork them to start with, and we've got to actually match the opposition's effort and endeavour and enthusiasm, and then we have to bring our rugby talent, and that's the way it has to be. As soon as we get complacent, or as soon as you think that it'll just happen, that's the mark of a guy that or a team that's not going to deliver at the important time. So we talk about being hungry. We've got to be desperate every time we take the pitch to do the best we can when we wear the jersey and represent the people that we represent, be it our families, be it our friends, be it the USA rugby community, be it the nation. That's what it's all about. It's about putting pride in the jersey, pride in the badge, and every supporter of the USA looking down at those boys and going, they're a true reflection of us and everything we stand for and the values that we believe in. And, that's what we talk about. And that's the way that we go about our business on the training park.
Do you have any thoughts on the Vegas Sevens leaving Vegas now on the stop, as a stop?
Yeah, whether it does or it doesn't. I think the important thing is that we have a stop in America. I think that's first and foremost, whether it's Vegas or whether it's another city. I think that's to be determined by other people, not me. I think what's important is that the USA rugby community have its own stop, own destination on the World Series. We're a country that's crying out for rugby to take a hold and complement the existing super sports. It sits lovely with the values of being a good person, and it's exactly what we need in our sporting landscape. So I think first and foremost, we've got to make sure we've got to stop in the USA, and I think that's definitely going to happen. Whether it's going to remain to be in Sin City of Vegas or whether it moves to another destination, I think we saw in San Francisco a fantastic event. I think we also saw a fantastic event in San Jose where they did the Silicon Sevens. So we're more than capable of putting on these great events and hosting and having a successful Sevens World Series event wherever we decide to put it in the country. And, United World Sports and under John Prosman, he's done a fantastic job to position a leg and give us the credibility that we already have on the World Series.
Definitely. Well, I wanted to bring in a couple of, the supporters, the fans, people that have been following that you're going to be on here today. So I have a couple questions that I've put together from their questions. And one of them was a pretty common question that I got just in a different way. Basically, younger kids are wondering for players dreaming to play for the USA Sevens one day, what do you recommend they start to look at now? Where do they need to get involved to eventually get to the USA Sevens team?
I think first and foremost, they've got to enjoy the game. So they've got to play, they've got to have fun. So as a young man, whether you're, when you're learning the game and enjoying it, then the key is enjoying it, having fun, and understanding the values of the game. And you can do that from the age of 5 through rookie rugby, join a local club, be a part of that rugby community. I think the golden years of learning the game are 12 to 18. And that can sit nicely in high schools where you can complement and play multi-sport. So I still encourage all people to play basketball, American football, baseball, and rugby can sit nicely amongst all of those. And then you can specialise, and you can either specialise in one of those, but as long as you've got that rugby knowledge and EQ and you've learned how to play the game between the 12 and 18, and you decide to go and do something else at college, you can pick it up after college. But I would suggest if you try and find your local rugby club, that will be a good start point. And if you have a high school that plays the game, that's a great start point. And I think, what's starting to happen at college level is that a lot of colleges are introducing rugby programs. And it's not unachievable to pick up the game at 18. It's just going to take you a little bit longer, but you've got to be prepared to persevere, work hard, and focus on learning the basics and how to pass properly and correctly. You've got to learn how to tackle safely and properly. And then from there, you can start to layer on the other technical skills and the other tactical understanding skills that you need to be a good rugby player. Because the big thing about, sporting men and women in America is they have the physical capacity to be very good rugby players because it's embedded and it's part of the DNA of American sports people. They've got what it takes to be a good rugby player. They've just got to understand what it is to be successful in the team sport of rugby, which is a slightly different dynamic to the team sports of say American football or baseball or basketball, but nonetheless, very, very good fun.
It's funny you mentioned that because the last question that I have from them comes from Long Island Rugby. Somebody from their team asked, what crossover athletes make the best sevens players? If you had to pick a couple different sports, what would you pick?
I think it's a very individual thing. I mean, everybody talks about Ebner as being that type of person, but Nate Ebner played between the golden years of 12 to 18 and then went to college football. I said, if I was picking up somebody that had never played the game before, who would be able to probably make the quickest adjustment in terms of spatial awareness or spatial understanding, is probably a basketball player. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, for a basketball player, normally they're obviously very big people. So again, that lateral movement, the dynamics on a rugby pitch is very different to a basketball court. So I would probably say basketball has the biggest synergies. I think in terms of what could you take and bring into the game of sevens very quickly is if you had a track athlete, and Carlin's a very good example, who loves the contact element, and that's a certain type of track athlete, then they are very transferable. And so I think it's very personality driven individually in terms of what that type of character is and what sport they came from. Perry, they talk about being that kind of football crossover, but Perry was playing rugby behind closed doors when he was 18, 17, whilst he was still chasing that football dream. So again, it's not kind of that true. He stopped being a footballer and then became a rugby player. So I have to kind of dodge that question, but I don't think there's any true one answer for it. I think in America, we have such great sports people that are quite versatile, but the thing about rugby is that you have to learn the game, and it's a lot easier to learn things in those golden years from 13 to 18 than when we're all a lot older. It becomes a lot harder to play catch up.
Definitely.
Did you know the answer? We need to get rugby positioned in the high school curriculum. That's what we need to do. If we did that in just all of the rugby hotbeds, so it became part of the rugby curriculum, part of the educational curriculum that sat there to complement those existing super sports, we're on our way. We're on our way.
Thanks so much. Guys, USA Sevens head coach Mike Friday joining us here on Sevens Life Live. Mike, really appreciate
I think we got beaten by the better team on the day was Fiji in Hamilton. I mean, everything they did, nonetheless, was when he was 18, 17, whilst he was still chasing.
On Sevens Life Live, big things.
That true. He stopped being a footballer and then became a rugby player. So I have kind of dodged that question, but I don't think there's any true one answer for it. I think in America we have such great sports people that are quite versatile, but the thing about rugby is that you have to learn the game, and it's a lot easier to learn things in those golden years from 13 to 18 than when we're all a lot older. It becomes a lot harder to play catch up.
Definitely.
Did you know the answer? We need to get rugby positioned in the high school curriculum. That's what we need to do. If we did that in just all of the rugby hotbeds, so it became part of the rugby curriculum, part of the education curriculum that sat there to complement those existing super sports, we're on our way. We're on our way.
Thanks so much. Guys, USA Sevens head coach Mike Friday joining us here on Sevens Life Live. Mike, really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to talk to us. I know a lot of these people are going to be in Vegas. Very excited for the team and where it's at. We're #1 in the world, headed into Vegas, our home tournament. Thanks so much, Mike. We really appreciate it.
Hey, it's lovely to be on here and mix it with the proper rugby supporters of the USA. It's great. It's great to see. Keep up the good work.
Sevens Life, down to the last second, Mike. Down to the last second zone. You're the first one on Sevens Life Live. Big things. Thanks,
Cheers,
Mike.
man. Go well.
Cheers.